What is up, Phoenix fam? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about why I think that, in my opinion, Infinite Warfare is my least favorite Call of Duty. Hey, what's up, guys? It's me, HexPhenom, and today we're going to be talking about why, in my opinion, Infinite Warfare is my least favorite Call of Duty. And before we get into it, I'm going to let you guys know that, this isn't just like, oh, this isn't, Infinite Warfare is garbage because it's not Black Ops 3 or whatever. And I understand that Infinite Warfare is some people's first Call of Duty, and I understand that it's some people's favorite Call of Duty. So this isn't me just blindly hating on it. These are my opinions, and if you don't agree with them, that's fine. If you do agree with them, that's also fine. Let me know in the comments down below your guys' feelings on Infinite Warfare, and let's get into it. Now, one of the main gripes I have with Infinite Warfare is the weapon balancing isn't that great. The base weapons aren't too bad with balancing, just like the no variant versions, but there are some that even within the base variants outclass the rest of the weapons. The NV4, the K-Bar, the ERAD, guns like that, mainly those three though, they pretty much outclass and outperform almost every other gun in the game, just its base variant. And then getting into the stat-changing variants, which I also have a problem with, in not just in Infinite Warfare, but in any Call of Duty that has them. I feel like it's a problem because these guns that are already so great by themselves have by far the best epic variants as well. Like the NV4 Flatline has, one of the gun perks it has is an unlimited maximum damage range. Or the K-Bar Invective that has an increased headshot multiplier that also stacks with Hollow Point. Or the ERAD Cyclopean, which shoots the laser beam of doom. Just things like that, compared to some of the shittier epic variants, like, I don't know, for example, the EMC Switchblade, which is the energy pistol, and the epic variant just turns it into a really shitty shotgun. Or the RAC-9 Smoothbore, which changes the RAC-9 to a slug shot that is still garbage, or things like that. The epic variants of the already, what I would consider overpowered guns, are even more overpowered. And it just kind of rubs me the wrong way, and it's just so annoying dropping into a game, especially me going for Black Sky, having to use some of the crappier weapons in the game. It really is discouraging dropping into a game using the Volk, which I would consider probably the worst of the base assault rifles. It's discouraging dropping into a game with the Volk and seeing everyone on the other team using the NV4 Flatline or the K-Bar Invective, or even just the K-Bar or NV4 in general, because even the base variants can outperform pretty much any variant of the Volk at almost any range. And it's discouraging a little bit, but it just really rubs me the wrong way with the stat-changing weapon variants. And then not to mention that, but there's also a bunch of really cheap and kind of like really annoying grenades. And I know there's perks you can use to counter it, but I don't really want to waste perks on having to counter these stupid tacticals and lethals that people rarely use. And some of them you can't even counter with perks, like the Black Hole Grenade, or the Blackout Grenade, or the, I don't remember what it's called, but the grenade that just rocket propels itself forward and you can detonate it right in people's faces. It's like a flying C4 basically, or just whatever. Like, some of the grenades are just super cheap and super annoying, and there's ways to counter them, yeah, but I just think they're super annoying in general. Another problem I have, this isn't just Infinite Warfare, but we're talking about Infinite Warfare as a whole, but the whole advanced movement thing that we've seen with the last 3 Call of Duties, I'm not a huge fan of. Personally, Infinite Warfare, I'd say, is like the second best, or also the second worst, technically. I feel like Advanced Warfare was the worst with the advanced movement. It was way too jumpy. Black Ops 3, I personally liked the best, and then Infinite Warfare feels a little tiny bit clunky to me. I don't know why. Maybe it has to do with the connection sometimes. I don't know. And a nice segue is, I think the connection is actually really, really bad in this game. personally, and it's not lag because my console's hardwired and I have fast internet, so I know it's not me lagging. But there'll be times where I'll be behind someone and they'll have their back turned to me, and they'll kill me somehow without turning around, and then in the kill cam it'll show that they were behind me, like that we were looking at each other, and that he just shot me in the mouth. And it doesn't make any sense. The connection is really bad, and I'm sure it has to do with the hybrid peer-to-peer servers or whatever, and the low tick rate on the servers or whatever. But there is a general connection problem with the game, and there's a lot of times where I get killed around corners and a lot of different stuff like that. And then another thing is supply drops. Now, supply drops obviously have been in for the past 3 games as well, and this isn't necessarily just a knock on Infinite Warfare, because I know that Black Ops 3 and Advanced Warfare were very similar to the amount of items and the amount of watered down things that they put in the supply drop pool. But just as like an example, I'm gonna give you guys some numbers here about the supply drops in Infinite Warfare. Now, in the regular prototype lab, which is the regular Mark 1 weapon variants, there's 133 of those, and you can craft them, yes, with salvage, but I'm just counting what's in the supply drop pool. So there's 133 weapon variants in the regular weapon variants, and the Mark 2 weapon variants, which are almost all the same, except they give you 15% more XP per kill. So the Mark II variants, there's 181 of them, and they are exclusive to supply drops. You can't craft those. The Quartermaster collection, which is just more, which is weapon variants that you can't craft. There's 48 of them, and they are exclusive to supply drops as well. There's 29 reticles that unlock for every site except the thermal, and they are exclusive to supply drops only. And then the thermal site has 4 reticles that are in supply drops only. There's 75 accessories that unlock for every gun. They're exclusive to supply drops. There's 146 camos that are unlocked, but they unlock per class. So with 8 classes in the game, that brings us to 1,168 camos. There's 227 calling cards. There's 109 emblems. Let's flip the page here. There's 6 rigs in the game, each with 20 heads and 8 bodies. So that brings us to 168 total rig pieces. Then there's taunts and gestures. There's 61 gestures, and there is 42 taunts. And so we have a grand total of 2,245 items in supply drops. And that number can also vary because there's also salvage drops and double XP tokens that you can get in supply drops. So 2,245 equipable items in supply drops. And assuming that those are all dupe protected, you can divide that number by 3. So assuming you get no duplicates ever, it would take 748.3 decimal repeating supply drops to get every single item in the game. And now, obviously, not everyone wants every single item in the game, but that's 2,245 items, and you want one specific thing. Your chances of getting that thing are like slim to none, especially with the fact that you can get duplicates, and pretty easily, apparently. Because I'm only 2nd prestige. Out of these 2,245 items, I might have like 5 to 700 maybe, and I get, that's probably overestimating as well. I'll open rare, like 2 or 3 rare supply drops at a time, and I'll get like 5 or 6 dupes out of 9 items, and it's just, it really rubs me the wrong way. And like I said, this isn't just on Infinite Warfare. This is every Call of Duty. I was just using the numbers from Infinite Warfare as an example. But honestly, my biggest gripes with Infinite Warfare is garbage weapon balancing, in my opinion, and just spotty connection. And then the stat-changing weapon variants is the big one for me. I feel like I would much rather weapon variants that just make the gun look different, kind of like how the weapon kits are in Modern Warfare Remastered, if any of you have played it. I would much rather weapon variants like that than ones that change the damage and the range and the stats of the weapons, because it makes it so much harder to balance. Think about, let's say there's 40 guns in the game, and each has, I don't know, let's say 7 base weapon variants. So that's not counting like the Mark IIs or any of that. That goes from 40 weapons to balance to 280 weapons to balance. And that makes it significantly harder to make sure that nothing's overpowered. It makes it significantly harder to make sure that all the weapons are balanced correctly and that they're not broken or anything like that. And it's just, I don't know, it rubs me the wrong way. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Like I said, not blindly hating on this game just because it's not a Treyarch game or whatever. Actually, 2 of my 3 favorite Call of Duty games of the series are Infinity Ward games, and that's Modern Warfare 1 and Modern Warfare 2. So, this isn't me just being like, oh, Infinity Ward sucks because they're not Treyarch, oh ho 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 ho. But, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to pack a punch that like button. Be sure to subscribe. Have a phenomenal day. And guys, Phenom, out.